The flow starts in the Angular client, where the user submits an email and password with no tenant or store identifier. The request reaches the auth controller, where bin validation rejects invalid input before any logic runs. The controller delegates to the auth service, keeping the web layer clean and focused.
The auth service is transactional, so failures trigger a full rollback and maintain consistency. User lookup is handled by Spring Data JPA, where find by email is generated automatically at runtime.
The repository returns a user entity, which has a one-to-one relationship with a store that defines tenancy. Password verification uses bcrypt, comparing the input against a stored hash without exposing plaintext. The encoder is configured as a Spring Bean, ensuring consistent and secure password handling. Once validated, the system generates an access token and a refresh token in parallel. The access token is a JWT built using JWT and is short-lived. The storeId is embedded directly into the token's claims, making tenant identity part of the signed payload. At the same time, a refresh token is created and tied to the user session. Before storage, both tokens are returned in a response DTO as JSON to the client. The frontend stores the access token and includes it as a bearer token in future requests. When the user loads the items page, Angular sends a GET request with the token attached. The request enters the Spring security filter chain, where the JWT filter runs before the controller. The filter validates the token, checks its signature and expiration, and parses the claims. The storeId is extracted and treated as the tenant identifier. It is stored in a ThreadLocal tenant context, making it available across the request. No tenant data is passed explicitly through method parameters. The request reaches the item controller, which remains unaware of tenancy. The item service reads the storeId from the tenant context and applies it to its logic. The repository enforces isolation by including the storeId in every query. Each item is scoped by both item ID and storeId at the database level. This guarantees strict tenant isolation and prevents cross-tenant access by design. The repository returns only tenant-specific data with no need for filtering. Entities are mapped into DTOs to avoid exposing internal models. These DTOs are immutable and safe for concurrent use. The response is returned to the frontend, showing only the user's own data. Tenant identity flows from the JWT through context into database queries. That is the logical wall, enforced through claims, context, and query design.